When the time comes to sell a home, there are things you should definitely know before you start the process. In this video, we're going to break down the top 10 most frequently asked questions that we get as real estate agents. My name is McClellan. I'm the owner of Colorado Team Real Estate, and I love shooting these videos and educating you on real estate and would like even more to help you with your real estate in Colorado. So the first thing that comes up is pricing. Whenever we go through pricing, if you just want to get a feel for where you're at, best thing you can do is look online and say, if I were a buyer in this market, what would I pay for your house before going to the next house up or the next one down? It's a real simple way to just say, here's kind of the range of where my home is. As real estate agents, once we come into the picture, what we're going to do is very similar to an appraisal, because we know with most buyers, they're going to get a mortgage and you're going to have to go through this process. So we're going to look at the homes that are currently for sale. We're going to look at the homes that are under contract and going to closing, because we know that's a future comp. Then we're going to look at the most recent sales in your neighborhood, in your city, in your school district, and get a good feel for exactly how much your home's going to sell for. We don't want to look beyond 6 months. So if you had a neighbor who sold last year or a year and a half ago, an appraiser is unlikely to use that because the market's changed. And so they want that most recent data, usually something within 6 months or 90 days. So that's the data we're going to look at. And usually we can get within 1% of the actual sales price. So you've got really good information to plan your next move with. The next thing we want to do is go through our home and prepare it for the sale. So step one in this is just to make any obvious repairs. So if you've got some damage to paint, damage to doors, damage to trim, damage to the fence out back, or any landscaping that needs touched up, go ahead and make those repairs so that you can make a good first impression. The next step is to declutter. So the rule here is declutter by 50% and then declutter by another 50%. And one of the biggest mistakes I see here is people shove things into closets. Well, when buyers come in, they want to see that your house has a lot of storage space. So we don't want to shove things into closets. We want to box it up. We want to get it into the garage. We want to get it in the basement. Consider taking it to friends, family, getting a storage unit, anything we can to make your house have an open feel. And then we want to go through and take down any personal, pictures of the family, because as the buyer's coming through the house, we want them to feel like it's going to be their home, not yours. So depersonalize the house, get it decluttered, and then take a look at your landscaping out front. Freshen up any mulch and flowers, anything you can out there. Out back, make sure your fence is in good shape, your yard is pristine. All that is going to make an impact when we come through to do pictures and video. Something you need to know to ease your pain and ease your stress going through this process is the time on market. So how long is it taking homes in your neighborhood to sell once they go on market? Because keeping a clean home, keeping this thing show ready, that's tough. That's really hard to have this thing ready to go all the time. So right now, Denver Metro, our average time on market is 42 days. Our median time is 13 days. And so if you're kind of more in the entry level, below the average sales price, those homes tend to sell quicker than the luxury properties that tend to sit on the market a little bit longer. So just understand what's going on in your neighborhood so that you have a realistic expectation of how long you're going to have to keep the home show ready. One option you have when selling your home is to hire a real estate agent or go for sale by owner. Sell the home on your own and you can save on commission. Historically, what we see is that for sale by owner properties sell 8% below market value. So most people there, they've got more stress. They've got more issues with paperwork, with showings, with negotiating and offers and all the things that go into selling a home, and they typically net less money. So here's an opportunity for you to get professional advice and make this process go a whole lot easier with somebody that does it every single day. One of the most important things to understand as a seller is the cost involved with selling a home. So there's a few big items that you need to know about. And first off is commission. This is negotiable. Every agent's different. So you're going to want to understand what's the total commission that you're paying. Then you're going to want to understand what are the title costs. This is the third-party company that transfers ownership from you over to the buyer. So we're going to go in, these are the people that control the title insurance, the history of your home. Are there any liens on it from somebody who put a new roof on or maybe painted? A lot of work to be done there by the title company. So we've got to pay them for their time. Then we've got your proration for taxes. You'll pay taxes up to the day that you hand over ownership. And then if you're in an HOA, typically there's some transfer fees with your HOA Those are the main costs for selling your home, along with repairs or anything you need to do to prepare it. Once your home's on market, now you're going to have to handle offers and negotiating those offers. So once an offer comes in, what we do is we take the price that they're offering, we take out all those costs that we just talked about, and we'll be able to show you how much you're going to walk away with at closing. And that's going to give you the opportunity to go back and do a counter offer or accept the offer and continue to move forward. So this is something we can provide you with up front. Offers and negotiating, the best way to win here is understand what your competition is and be ready, because typically the first offer in real estate is the best one. And if you miss out on that one, now we go into 2 more weeks on market and we've got to do a price reduction, and it comes down to where that first offer was. So always be ready that, when your house is the new one on market, there's this huge pool of buyers that are ready to come in and see your house because it's the new kid on the block, right? And then after a couple of weeks on market, now you're waiting on new buyers to enter the market, or they're looking for a price reduction out of you or some upgrades to the home. They're looking for your house to be the obvious choice. Once you're under contract, now it's time for the home inspection. So most buyers, they're going to get their offer accepted. They're going to deposit the earnest money. Then they're going to hire a home inspector to come in, and they're going to check this house out from foundation all the way to the roof. They're going to look at the windows. They're going to look at your heating and cooling system. They're going to look at your electrical, your plumbing, and they're going to go through this thing. And most of the time, buyers will come ask you for repairs. So some of the big ticket items are the sewer line. A lot of times we'll have root intrusions or maybe a break in the new build communities where there's been some settling. We'll also have high radon. Got a lot of radon gas here in Colorado, and that's usually somewhere around $1,000 to $2,000 to fix up and put a radon mitigation system in. Also, a lot of hail damage here. So if you run into an issue where your roof's got a lot of hail damage, get an adjuster out there right away. Find out if the insurance company will help you out with getting a roof replacement. Outside of that, we see fogged up windows where window seals are broken. We see sinks that are slow to drain. We see electrical outlets that are miswired. So a lot of these small things. And in my opinion, one of the best things you can do as a seller is just to credit the buyer. Because if you go out as a seller, a lot of times your goal is to hire the cheapest handyman to go out there and make the repairs and just get the job done. You're moving on. You're done with this house. And as a buyer, you're coming in. This is your new baby, and you want to make sure that everything is done right. And so if you go out and you pay a bunch of money for these repairs and then it's not done up to the buyer's standards, you could end up with an issue right there before closing. So look into a credit. So let's say our sewer line is going to be $5,000 to repair. Hey, Mr. Buyer, Miss Buyer, we will give you $5,000. You guys can hire the company that you want to come in here and make sure you get the work done the way you want it. So don't overlook any credits. However, you can come in, and when the buyer says, hey, here's 10 things we want done, you negotiate those repairs and say, here's the 3 that we'll do. Here's the 7 that we'll do. Or we'll do a couple of them, then we'll give a credit. So a lot of different options here, but really just look at the overall value of your offer. What are you walking away with? What are the terms? How bad do I want to keep this buyer? And then you can determine which repairs you do and which repairs you don't do. Another thing you need to know about is the appraisal. So most buyers are going to get a mortgage, and the bank is going to want to verify that the house is worth what they're buying it for. So let's say we have a house that's worth $1 million. The bank is going to send an appraiser out, and they're going to measure the house. They're going to do a report on the condition and the upgrades, and they're going to send this back to the bank to make sure it's worth $1 million. The best thing you can do to win with this is have the house in show-ready condition. Have the lights on, have the home clean, have it ready for the appraiser to come in so you make a good first impression. As an agent, we can help you out with this because we can come by and we can give them a list of all the upgrades that you've done. We can give them a list of homes that have recently sold in the neighborhood and do all we can to make sure that value comes in where we want it to. So if we've got a home for sale and appraisal comes in at $1 million and that's our contract price, or let's say it comes in a little bit higher, maybe it comes in at $1,050,000, then nothing happens. We continue to move forward to closing. If it appraises at $1,050,000, you as a seller do not get $1,050,000. You get the contract price, the $1 million. Now let's say it comes in at $950,000. At that point, the buyer can cancel, and most of the time they can get their earnest money back. So people will end up meeting in the middle somewhere. So as a buyer, you're going to say, hey, it appraised at $900,000. I'll give you $900,000 for it. And as a seller, you're going to say, hey, it appraised at 900,000, but our contract's at $1 million. You guys need to come up with 50,000 additional cash to cover this gap. And what happens most of the time is people meet in the middle. Buyers bring a little bit of cash, sellers go down in value, because chances are if it appraised here, it's unlikely that we can truly get it sold that much more. So best thing you can do right there is decide, what is this worth to you? Do you have an opportunity to go back on market and sell it at a higher price or not? Should you settle and go with the lower appraised value? But again, our job is to make sure we get that appraised value, and we're going to work really hard to make that happen. Another thing you need to be ready for is closing. This is the day that you lock the doors the final time. You're going to go to closing. As a seller, it only takes about 20 or 30 minutes to sign the final paperwork with your title company. Then they are going to transfer ownership over to the buyer. You'll relinquish the keys, and they will send you your money at closing. So congratulations, you've made a sale through the sale process, and your home is closed. On that day, we just want to make sure that all the repairs that you've agreed to are done. We want to make sure the home is in broom clean condition and that it's ready for the new buyers. And anything you can do to help out a new buyer is always appreciated. So things like, when is trash day? Where's your mailbox at? Any gardeners, landscapers, anything like that that are familiar with the property, any information you can pass on to a buyer, that is huge in helping them to get settled into the new home. The last thing to consider as a seller is, what are you going to do if your home sits on the market and it starts to get stale? And we've all seen a home in the neighborhood where it just stayed on market way longer than what the other properties did. So what can we do if we find ourselves in that situation? Well, there's some things that we can control in a sale, and there's some things that are out of our control. So market conditions are out of our control. We can't do anything about that. Location, also out of our control. But what we can control is compensation. Are we offering compensation and incentives to get buyers and buyer agents in the door? So take a quick review of that. Next thing is marketing. Are you getting enough exposure, and is it the right exposure? Do you have good pictures? Do you have good video? Are you on social media? Are you on the MLS and the major home search portals like Realtor and Zillow and Trulia and Homes.com? Make sure your exposure is out there so that you're driving traffic in. Next thing is pricing. This is really the biggest one, because there's no amount of marketing that can overcome improper pricing. So look at your competition and become the obvious choice for a buyer with your pricing. And lastly is condition and amenities. So we can go in, we can paint, we can put in new flooring, we can do some things to bring up the value of our property if it's not selling. But those are the 6 factors that influence every sale. So review those 6 factors, look at the 4 that you can change, and narrow it down to where you're missing inside of those 4. If you have any questions about buying or selling a home in Colorado or anywhere in the country, I've got a lot of great referral partners throughout the country that I can connect you with. Reach out to me. Love shooting these videos, but would love even more to help you get into the right home. My name's Cameron. I'm the owner at Colorado Team Real Estate.